This video is sponsored by CuriosityStream.
I'm standing in one of the most famous transit-oriented developments in the United States. This is Renko Station in the Portland metropolitan area. Transit-oriented developments, or TODs, are high-quality, mixed-use developments near transit. Now, what makes Renko Station so special?
First of all, it's one of the earliest modern examples of a U.S. community purposely designed as a TOD, particularly a TOD along a modern light rail system. The city of Hillsborough, where Renko Station is located, had begun assembling parcels for a housing development in the 1980s, and Oregon Metro, the regional planning agency, identified the site as a location for a station along its new West Side light rail line. The station was built in 1998, and the first phase of the project was built around this same time. It's also quite well known because it's not only a TOD, but it's a new urbanist TOD, one designed according to the principles of the Congress for the New Urbanism. It features walkable streets meant to foster social interactions, a turn-of-the-last-century design palette with front porches on houses, and a mix of land uses, including retail and services.
So did it live up to expectations? Is this a neighborhood full of transit riders?
Well, it's complicated. Initial studies showed that transit ridership for commuting was higher than the national average, but pretty much the same as the rest of the Portland area. People moved to Renko Station more for the upscale walkable character than the direct transit access. But the community is quite close to a large Intel office park. Many residents are Intel employees, and you can't get there on light rail.
Renko Station has also grown considerably since those first studies were conducted, and most of the new development has been multifamily housing or mixed-use development. Some as dense as 6 stories, like the stuff behind me. That's not bad.
A more recent study found that Renko Station generates half the car trips expected of a typical suburb, and requires about half the parking spaces. A walkable neighborhood with dense development and a variety of viable non-car options, it's easy to see why this became a popular case study, especially in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Since Renko Station became the early poster child for transit-oriented development, cities across the United States have encouraged TODs near transit stations to reduce car trips and increase transit trips. Doing so can reduce carbon emissions and region-wide traffic, some pretty laudable goals.
But do all TODs achieve this goal? And could you achieve these goals with a simple park and ride station? And could you achieve them without transit at all? We'll answer those provocative questions after the bike bell. Renko Station is a great pioneering example of transit-oriented development, but it's not the only model out there.
In fact, on the other side of the country in Northern Virginia, TODs are an order of magnitude more dense and impressive. The Washington, D.C. Metro Orange Line extends from Northern Virginia throughout the district and into Maryland. While the regional planners were planning this route, they purposely upzoned parcels within a half-mile or walking distance to these new metro stations. They called it the Bullseye concept. They knew that there'd be high demand for homes and offices near transit, and they wanted to encourage development there to reduce traffic in the area. The plan was a massive success, with 36 million square feet of office space, 6 million square feet of retail, and 47,000 housing units near the 7 Arlington County stations.
Arlington County and Renko Station both prove that transit-oriented development can work, but is it always a good idea? Or am I just cherry-picking the best examples? The answer to both those questions is a qualified yes.
I'm showing you some amazing examples, but the principles of TODs are sound. There are design choices that can maximize or limit their effectiveness in generating more transit trips and reducing car trips. Not every TOD will have the same success as a Renko or Arlington. First of all, TODs need to ensure people can get to the station quickly. This is done by building housing, offices, and retail as close to the station as possible. Arlington is a great example of this. People typically won't walk more than a half mile to reach quality transit, so the area directly around the station is critical. All of those people living close won't be driving to the station. They'll be walking or maybe taking a bike. The built environment needs to be designed to support active transportation. This means building a complete sidewalk network with adequate lighting and amenities. Ideally, the building should address the street, perhaps with storefronts or front doors to homes. The design of the station area can also have an impact on the quality of the development. Stations shouldn't be surrounded by a mode of parking, but instead have a public plaza meant to encourage people to walk there. This space should be the center of the TOD community and be activated by things like events, farmers markets, and outside dining. The land use mix has to be correct too. Some land uses like warehouses are not a great match for TODs as job density is low. But not every station has to have a complete neighborhood mix. Some TODs can be focused on office uses, while others can be more residential in character. But residential TODs need to be on the same line as the office TODs so people can go to and from work easily via transit. Sometimes the success of a TOD comes down to transit route choice. One example is routing a transit line along a major highway. Transit running in the median essentially means that all the best sites for a TOD are taken up by lanes of traffic, and the next best land, distance-wise, is up against the highway. Running a line along one side of a highway is better, but not by much. You end up with a 180-degree station, where all the TOD has to be on the same side of the highway, because a walk under the highway to get to the station really kills any advantage of TODs. This is why the Green Line in Portland doesn't have many TOD projects, but instead has resorted to building park and ride lots.
But wait, are park and ride lots bad? They allow commuters from far-flung suburbs to take transit to their final destination.
These facilities can reduce vehicle miles traveled and confer some of the same traffic and environmental benefits as having people live near the station in the first place. Is it better to simply put up some parking lots near a station, particularly in areas not conducive to TODs? At least one study has shown that adding 100 parking spaces will generate more transit ridership than adding 100 housing units. And park and ride is an overall better use of floor space if ridership is the goal.
Why are we even talking about TODs then? Video over, right? Well, ridership isn't the only metric that matters here.
In some cases, the transit agency owns the land that the TOD is built on, and it would make more money developing it into housing or offices than a park and ride. Those funds are often used to pay for the transit line or future transit lines. And many cities are experiencing a housing shortage, so building more units is better for the city as a whole. Another issue with park and rides is their parking is often free or extremely inexpensive. If parking isn't priced according to the market value for the land and the demand for the spaces, the park and ride amounts to a significant subsidy provided to drivers, often directly from a transit agency. And free parking can often fill up early at park and rides, often before 7 a.m. Thus, they aren't even available or useful to a large number of drivers. And when parking is available, nobody needs it. Park and rides also detract from the walkable environment that a good TOD fosters, and such development in the United States is scarce. It's a missed opportunity to put a parking garage in a place where cities could actually encourage dense development. The reality is that park and rides have a specific role to play in transportation infrastructure. Some marginal land near a transit station may be a perfect spot for a park and ride, and a park and ride facility may be a good interim land use, until development pressures make selling the land to a real estate developer a lucrative proposition.
So TODs are great, and park and rides are okay, but what if cities could achieve their greenhouse gas reduction targets and reduce traffic congestion without having to spend all that money to build new rail lines?
One study of transit in New Jersey found that lower auto use and ownership in TOD areas is not because people have access to rail transit and use it more, but because housing is at a higher density and there are fewer available parking spaces. These areas also have better bus service that connects to rail stations, and the bus service is more important than the rail line when it comes to why people use their car less.
What does this mean? This isn't an argument against rail transit. Rail transit provides backbone transportation services in dense regions, and it's incredibly necessary to have them. But cities shouldn't just consider dense development near rail stations, but everywhere else as well.
Cities should identify other areas where TOD-style development could occur, even if there's no rail station, and zone them in a way to encourage dense development. These areas should have fewer parking spaces, more regional employment, smaller housing units, and solid bus access, all predictive of less car use according to the study. It's not a matter of this or that, but this and that. Density and walkability near rail transit and elsewhere. Developments like a Renko Station may not have been this dense or walkable without Metro identifying it as a town center and anchored by a light rail station, so in that way, TODs can help turn a suburban site into something better. One subject we didn't address yet is the value of the overall rail transit network. It's not the most important thing, as the New Jersey study suggests, but Portland has a ton of cool rail transit projects, including Tillicum Crossing, a bridge that carries all modes except cars, and the region's even considering a tunnel under the Willamette River in downtown Portland to speed up transit there. I get into this topic in detail in a bonus video over on Nebula. That video is one of the many exclusive videos I have posted there. And all the videos at Nebula are ad-free. There are dozens of other thoughtful creators posting their ad-free videos and bonus content there too. We're talking about creators like Not Just Bikes, Real Life Lore, Wendover Productions, and Real Engineering.
Nebula is great, but it's made even better thanks to our partnership with CuriosityStream.
CuriosityStream is the source for high-quality, engaging documentaries. They have so much city content on there that you'll never get bored, including documentaries on Rio de Janeiro, New York City, Cape Town, and the planned city of Masdar. They're the perfect companions to the content on this channel. We have a deal where if you sign up to CuriosityStream using the link on screen, you'll get Nebula for free. That's not a free trial, but free as long as you're a CuriosityStream member. And they're running a special deal where you can get the entire year for 26% off. That's less than $15 a year for CuriosityStream and Nebula.
Signing up is a great way of supporting this channel as well as the dozens of other creators working to make Nebula a success. Overall, it's just a really good deal too. So go click on the link on screen and get 26% off.